So 2007, I'm sitting in a room full of managers. I'm just like this, getting ready for our fall kickoff. I stared into the distance, just staring blankly, wondering what the heck I was doing, as people walked by and kept congratulating me on all these incredible accomplishments. 2006, I had just had the first $1 million year in company history in our division. It was now August of 2007, and we had passed that number. Any other time in my business, I would have been ecstatic, but I wanted to quit. And I sat there and really thought about, I had just gotten so caught up with producing numbers. I totally lost sight of why I was working. I was tired, I was overweight, I was frustrated, and it just wasn't fun anymore. I remember talking to my best friend that next week, and I said, I really think my time with Cutco is done. It's been a great 5 years, and it's time to move on. I said, I feel I have a higher calling to serve. I had grown up in the church. I went to a Christian high school. I went to a Christian college. 4 of my 5 best friends are youth ministers. And I always felt a calling to serve and give back. I had kind of a potty mouth, so I knew church was not my route, but I wanted to serve somehow. And she said, you should come with me to this leadership conference. It happens every year. It's a pastoral leadership event. It's ran by this church in Texas. I have an extra ticket. You should come with me. She's like, it's not just youth pastor stuff. It's about leading people. It's a leadership event. And so basically something like SLC for managers. She said, I'd love for you to come. I said, okay, I'll go. But I was a little nervous. In 2006, I lost my cousin. My cousin was my best friend. We're 2 months apart in age. We grew up together, and 2 weeks before my father's wedding, my cousin had a brain aneurysm and passed away. No notice, never thought he'd be gone. And I got mad. I got so mad at God. And I was like, I just don't want to talk to you right now. And so we didn't talk for a while. And I'd been doing pretty well not talking to him. I just crushed 2009. I was crushing 2007, but I was empty. And I missed it. And I knew that that was missing. I knew my relationship with my Creator was something that was missing. So I was very nervous as I got to this event. And we walked in. And to my surprise, the moments where I can remember in my youth and high school being most ecstatic about my life, my Creator, sharing it with people. We used to jam out to Frank, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, but old gospel singer, Franklin something. Yeah, Kirk Franklin, thank you very much, all right? We used to jam out to Kirk Franklin, all right, from when I was like 13 till I was like 16. So I walk into this church, and Kirk Franklin is leading the worship that day. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And I just felt like I was just embraced by something. And it was like my Creator was like, welcome back. And I just remember being so shook up. And I was like, I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to serve. So every year, this conference has its theme, right? Its title. That year, the theme was Lead Where You Are. Every single message talked about how you've been given this community, this job, wherever you were, whatever field or industry you were in. And it was your job to step up as a leader wherever you were. And it was over and over. And I said, oh my gosh, we left that event. My girlfriend goes, so what are you thinking? I said, I'm staying with Cutco. And she was like, what? Really? That's what you, she's like, and she just laughed. And she said, you're in a great place. And I remember going into 2008 with such a new enthusiasm, excitement, a new vision to go out and absolutely serve our community and really see what was possible. I didn't need to go anywhere. I just needed a new perspective, a new vision as to how I could use this to serve my higher purpose. I wish I could say from that point forward, things were perfect. Definitely not the case. Definitely wanted to quit another handful of times. And every time I lost sight of why I was working. So today I want to share with you guys three lessons that have really allowed me to have a continued success and fulfillment for almost 2 decades in the business while continuing to build an exciting life outside of the business. The first is that we must have a higher vision or purpose as to why we do things. Number 2 is that we're capable of way more than we think. Number 3 is that we must have the right environment to grow into all that we are capable of being. So why are you working? Deanna just asked that, right? And goals for the year. But think about, why are you working? We've all been asked that before, and I'm assuming if you're in this room, you could answer that pretty quickly. But you want to challenge it and take it a little bit deeper. I'm a huge fan of dream sessions and my 3 whys, which I'll explain here. Who's heard of dream sessions? Raise your hand. All right, most of the room, or about half the room, I guess. So dream sessions, this was introduced to me by Matthew Kelly, who came out to speak at an event for us about 12 years ago. And he had spoken at our SLC conference. And as he shared there, he talked about, really sitting down with yourself and going through it. I know many have been through this. I'm not going to walk through this process, but have you really taken time to do this? And not just once, but really review it every year as to what you're doing, why you're working, what's happening. And I'll tell you guys right now, if it wasn't for this, I don't know that I would have made it through 2007 and through 2013. So I talked to you guys about 2007, where I just lost sight of everything. We came back, started dominating. We took down a lot of number ones, silver cups. 2013, it's May, we're ready to roll. We're ready to dominate the season. And on May 19th, my sister passed away in a tragic car accident. And so once again, this was a time where I did this in 2007, and when I did this exercise, it really gave me clarity as to all the things I wanted to do in my life. And then I looked at it and said, is this vehicle one that can get me there? Is there anything that can get me there quicker? And I haven't found something like that. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I had gone, but now in 2013, my sister passes away. And for those that know me, it shook my core. She was my roommate, one of my best friends, and she was gone. So for me at first, it was just such a reminder of how life is just so short. We hear it all the time and we know it, and we're not promised tomorrow, but we really are not. And it really got me thinking about, okay, what am I doing right now? And what am I doing with the resources I have to contribute and to keep going? And I'll tell you guys, I remember I was numb for 2 months. And just thinking about, what am I doing? Am I still in the right place? Am I still doing what I'm supposed to do? And I went on a little mini sabbatical. I redid a dreams session. And it was there as I sat and thought about all these things and said, what I want to do this year, I said, this is the place I'm still supposed to be. I need to take it higher. And that's where I decided to take a promotion and move over to Texas that year with a new focus and a new excitement and a new enthusiasm as to what we could do. The why test. My 3 whys. I found that very rare can you get to substance with just one question. It typically takes 3 whys. We're gonna play a little game. You're gonna turn to a neighbor, and I want you guys to ask your neighbor, it can be any goal you have for the year. Share an exciting goal you have. So you can say, what's a goal that you have this year? Or what's your biggest goal for this year? Whatever it is. And then when your partner answers, say, why? Or why is that important to you? And then once they answer, oh, that's great. And why is that important to you? And then do it one more time. You gotta do it at least 3 times, all right? So I'm gonna give you a second. Turn to your neighbor, go. Switch if you haven't. Switch if you haven't. All right, we can wrap that up. I know I didn't give you guys a lot of time. Shh. I know you guys all want to keep talking about your goals. It's really exciting. Who found that after asking 2 or 3 whys, it was a little bit deeper than the first thing they said? Raise your hand. All right. And you'll find that in most conversations when you ask somebody, hey, what's your goal for this? Right? A great example, one of my representatives' parents. This was back in 2008. And she had asked me to coach her for her real estate business. She said, I see my kids making all these calls. I'm having a really hard time. And I'll share this with you guys. And I remember talking to her, and she was like, I just hate making phone calls. I hate doing this. And I'm like, really? In your real estate? That's what you want to do? All right. So I asked her, why? Why was she doing real estate? She's like, well, I have to pay my mortgage. And I remember asking her, I said, well, why is that important? And she looked at me and she's like, what do you mean? Why is that important? I said, why is that important? And she said, well, I said, if you didn't sell another house, would that be okay? I said, does it really matter if you close any sales or not? And she looked at me and she's like, of course it does. And she said, well, I need to take care of my boys. And she went on in the conversation, and I wrote about this in my book. But I said, why is it important to pay your mortgage? And she said, well, if not, then my boys wouldn't have a roof over their head. And I paused for a minute. And I said, well, why does that matter? She's like, well, I'd be homeless, And I said, well, does that matter? Why does that matter? She's like, what? Of course it matters. She's like, my kids are my everything. Da, 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 da. I said, then make the dang call. She's like, all right. And she went out to absolutely dominate that year. But I said, put a new focus. Like, making the call is not about making the call. Making the call is about providing this incredible life for your boys. Every time you look at that phone, look at it as that vehicle that's helping you sell those houses and giving your boys an incredible life. I said, it's got to be something bigger. Sometimes the stuff we need to do to get to where we want to go might not all be pretty. It might not all feel good, There's parts of the job we all like more than others. In any job. But just really knowing why you're working really helps you get there so much quicker. The second lesson is that we're all capable of way more than we think we are. For example, let's pretend I was holding an apple seed, right? If I had an apple seed in my hand and you asked the apple seed, tell me about yourself. What are you? Like, well, I'm a seed. I'm brown. I have a hard shell. I'm a seed, and maybe that seed is super positive. And that seed's like, I'm gonna be the best seed I can be. And all he thinks he is a seed. And I've seen that. I've seen that in life. I see some people are the pessimistic, I'm just a seed. I'll never be anything else. Sucks for me. Wish I was that beautiful tree, but I'm just a seed. And then there's the ones who are like, I'm a seed and I'm proud of it. I'm gonna be the best shiny seed I can be, all right? But what I found, and by the way, the second was me when I started. I'm like, I'm just gonna do the best with what I've got. I didn't have much. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people in it. We didn't have much, and that was okay, but I was gonna do the best with what I had. What I didn't know is that when put in the right environment and nourished, that seed can grow. And there is a lot more in there. There are a lot more possibilities when put in the right environment. And when nourished properly and when taken care of properly, what starts to happen? A lot more can happen with that apple seed. And if it continues being nourished the right way, boom, all of a sudden you have something that can provide food, right? Nourishment, oxygen to everything around it. But so many times people don't think about what's really possible in their lives. And I love that in this business, and I talk about this in my book, it was here where I learned that, where I learned that there were limitless possibilities, but I had to be in the right environment. We're spoiled here, guys. We hear this, we know this, we grow up in this unbelievable environment. But most of the world, most of our family, most of our friends, they don't register that. They don't get that. And I think it's up to us to really share that with them and let them see that there really is more, but they have to be in the right environment. So let's talk about environment. We talked about higher vision and purpose. We talked about how we're capable for way more. Let's talk about environment. How do we create that environment for growth. What environment do you need, right? Because by the way, depending on your goals, depending on your wiring, what your insides are like, you need different things, right? Like a cherry blossom needs to be like in the cold. A cactus does not. A sunflower, lots of sun and heat, right? So there's different, when you look at even just plants, right? Different environments grow different types of plants. So you have to remember, we're all wired different. Some of us, and when it comes to really creating the environment, we have to identify, obviously, first what we want, because then we can make sure we're set up the right way. And we have to know ourselves. We have to have that self-awareness. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to ask for daily accountability, weekly accountability, if you need it and want it. Some of you in this room love to talk to someone daily, whether it's like being competitive, talking trash, accountability, whatever it is. While some of you, months, you don't need to talk to anyone. You're just going on your own, right? And then you reconnect, and it's fun, and it's cool. But your wiring doesn't need as much maybe conversation or communication. One is not good and bad. We're just wired differently. So own what it is you need to perform at the highest level so you can go out and get that done. So 4 things that I feel really impact growth. Number 1, you've got to evaluate your internal and external environment. You've got to get the energy right. What's fueling your energy? Physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Gosh, there are so many factors that impact your energy. I'm talking to a bunch of bad butt salespeople. I know you've had long freaking days where you are just so exhausted. But who here has had a day where you worked 12, 16 hours, and at the end of the night, you were fired up, all right? Raise your hand. You're like, yes, let's go party, all right? It's not because you're so rested and have all this like great physical energy. You've been standing at a freaking booth for hours. Your legs might hurt, everything hurts, but you know what? You're so excited, and that's where your emotional energy kicks in. And because you're super excited, you have more energy. When you take time to meditate or you spend time with your creator, that brings that, even just being outside in nature, that brings a source of energy. Making sure we're feeding ourselves. So I love savers. Most of you, if not all of you, have heard of Hal Elrod and the Miracle Morning. It's such an easy way to look at it. I have an acronym. I say Elevated You, and I go through the 8 things that I believe dealing with gratitude, daily rituals, ways to refuel ourselves, but just really being in the know. Again, how do you fuel yourself? Do you have that all in there? That's super important. Number 2, all right, are the people that you spend time with, or this has to go with number 1, sorry. But with your energy, this is my last point on energy. Too many times, people keep friends or family around, or just humans around, that are not serving them. In many cases, the ones you don't get rid of, it's because it's family or close friends. Maybe it's your cousin, maybe it's your parent, somebody that you really care about, but their energy blows. And you keep spending time with them. In this business, you guys know people in this room who are incredible givers of energy and really pour into you, and there's people in this room who drain the heck out of you. But you continue to talk to them. Limit your time. Seriously, protect your energy. Say, I have 15 minutes, go. Okay, hey, we can continue this later. When you have spent a lot of time with somebody who you know drink, because some of you guys, the leaders in this room, right? The top guys who have been here 15, 20 plus years, 3 million, 5 million, 7 million in career sales. Oh, I know, going to a conference, and everyone's like, can I ask you questions? Can I, and you're like, give. That's beautiful, and it's great to serve, but you also need to make sure you refuel yourself. So that's where you step aside, and Josh and Curtis, some of these might get together, they might go with other people and just get time for themselves, because anytime you're giving, guys, you are losing energy, all right? So what is it that refuels you? Is it a great song? Is it a great book? Is it dancing in your bathtub? I don't know. Whatever it is that fires you up, make sure you refuel yourself. So let's talk about people. One of the best conversations that I ever had in my life, probably, it's definitely top 3. It could be number 1, but one of the most influential conversations. I was sitting in a hot tub in Cabo San Lucas, and I was talking to John Vroman, 2 and 3 other of my mentors, Simca Gluck, Rachel Gluck, and Nadine Asali, who were top females back in the day with Cutco and management. And I remember we were all sitting around talking in this hot tub in Cabo. We're drinking beers, and we were talking about personal growth and development. And someone said, isn't this funny, that like we're here, a group of 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, sitting in this hot tub, chatting it up in Cabo, and we're talking about what book have you read recently? Like, what have you been doing? And it was just such a beautiful conversation we were having. And John Vroman brought up, and he goes, what I love about this place is that we do have so many incredible people like this. Think about in our regular lives, right? How often do you get to be surrounded with such badass people? And he goes, who are the top 5 people in your life? Name them now. Who are the top 5 most influential people that give you the most energy? And I was like, he's like, name them. You have to be able to name them. So let's pause real quick. Write them down. In your life, people you know, jot them down. Who are the 5 people that come to mind right away that when you speak to them, you leave that conversation just absolutely lit up. Like they always fuel you with energy. Who are those 5 people? They could be in the business. They could be out of the business. They could be people that you listen to maybe, I don't know, online. But I want you guys to think about people you know, someone you're connected to, even if it's a couple degrees of separation. Who are 5 of the people that really, really impact you, influence you? Some of you guys did that fast. Some of you guys are still writing. As you go through that, I'm going to throw a little extra challenge on here. I want you guys to shoot them a quick text and just say, hey, thinking of you, would love to catch up next week. Shoot them a text. Do it. I don't know if I'm the only person, but there are a lot of people that I love in my life, and they give me a lot of energy. And I get so busy and so caught up doing stuff that I forget to pause to be intentional about getting time with them. So shoot them a text. Start your year off. When you leave this event, getting a chance to connect with some of those people is going to be really incredible. But to wrap up this point, I will say this. Identify the takers and givers in your life. And I talk about this in my book from my conversation with John. And he said, Kat, you really have to identify that so that you can protect yourself. And unfortunately, in my life, it was somebody who was really close to me that I had to have a conversation and say, this is why I don't spend as much time with you. I love you. But when we speak, you just drain my energy. It puts me in a really bad state. And for what I want to do and what I want to create, I just can't have that. So that's why our time is limited and our calls are short. I said, but if you want to talk more about this, or if you want to bring this stuff up, or if you would stop talking about this, we would have much longer conversations. We would communicate more frequently, and we would definitely have a much better relationship. I was like, but I'm not going to sacrifice what I want to do and how I want to serve in this world because you want to bitch about everything, and just all the time complain and just point out everything that's going wrong in the world. That's just not where I want to be. And I had to do that. And by the way, with time, that relationship, little by little, changed and it adjusted. And she stopped coming to me, with a lot of negativity. It was, what's good? What's going on? Great. What can we celebrate? I'm like, I love those questions. All right. And you can instruct the people in your life. Here's what I'd love for you to say to me, or here's how I'd love for you to talk to me if you have those negative Nancys in your life. All right. So that's really important. Number 2 is you need to make sure you set up old patterns or patterns for your processes for your old patterns, okay? So what do I mean by this? I used to get angry very quickly, very heated Puerto Rican personality. So I went through a process. I went to Landmark years ago. Yeah, fantastic. 2006, forever changed my life. But I remember going that fall to that and thinking about, okay, where I was, where I wanted to be, what I needed to do. And I remember setting processes for myself because every time I get upset, it was like, boom. It was like a light switch. Everything's great in it, and I was like, ah. And as I went through that, I said, okay, when I get angry, when I get mad, instead of that switch, my process, and it took a while, and now it's ingrained in my brain, when I get upset, it's either I'm stressed about something going on or I'm upset about something. There is a very obnoxious deep breath. So first I'm I let everything out, and I'm like, what am I actually upset about right now? That's what I do. That's a process of mine. So I know when I get anxious or I get upset or those voices come back in my head, they're like, what that? I'm like, super deep breath, and I say, what is bothering me right now? Is this worth me getting all anxious about? Who do I need to talk to? What could I have done better? And I go through that. And it doesn't mean that it's perfect every time, but that definitely stops me and slows me down from reacting in the way that I wanted to. So every time I get mad, that's an example, right? So whatever it is, one of my reps had a lot of self-confidence, self-image issues. And, she had been told all growing up, had different voices in her head, that wasn't pretty enough, wasn't skinny enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't, like all this stuff. And, or wasn't smart enough, actually. She was beautiful. And she was told that. She said, thank God you're pretty. At least you'll go somewhere. By her dad. So she's kind of messed up in here, but gorgeous girl. And I remember working with her, and I said, every time that you feel like your voice doesn't matter or you're not smart enough, remind yourself, no, I am freaking smart, and this is this, and this is that. And by the way, she's built an incredible business. She's thriving. I've seen her on TV. I've seen her in different venues. And I got to meet up with her 2 years ago, and I coached her back in 2008 or 9. And she's a different person, and that's something that she always talked about, those like processes and basically reprogramming her brain. And I said, when you hear that voice that tells you you're not, you go, no, I'm freaking smart. And I started a business and I did this and I've done this, and really reminding yourself. And so she had the way she dealt with that for different parts of her life. So just make sure you guys know when you get lazy, when you get this, whatever it is, like, okay, when I think this, or I'm like, I don't want to freaking make a phone call. I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to this. Like, make a process for yourself of how you get yourself in the right state so you can execute what you need to do. We don't always feel like it. Got it? And there's, bad habits from the past that come back. Third is find the right tribe. I don't need to go much into that here. We've got just unbelievable people in this business, but just making sure outside of the business too, do you have people that are pulling you forward, pushing you forward, kicking you forward, whatever it is, just moving that way. You want to make sure you have people that are on that same journey with you. I'm a big believer in having people ahead who've done it already that you're learning and chasing after, having people with you that are on that same journey, aggressively growing with you side by side, and those people that you can take under your wing and that really push and challenge you because they're watching you. So you have those great examples and are able to move forward. And lastly is anticipate adversity. Don't be thrown off by it, guys. Life happens. And sometimes it doesn't look so pretty. But if you know where you're going, your subconscious can always redirect you. I tell my guys all the time, think about vision or a goal, whatever you want to achieve. If it really lights you up, like, your brain's gonna get there, but think about it as like putting a destination in your GPS, right? Are there roadblocks sometimes? Yes. Are there closed roads sometimes? Yes. Has Houston been flooded completely and we had to go on boats? Yes. But you can redirect. And when your brain knows exactly where it needs to go, it'll redirect when you have those tough times. But if you don't know exactly where you're going, you're gonna be all over the place. So just making sure that you guys have that your subconscious knows where to go. To wrap up, my uncle used to make puzzles, 5,000-piece puzzles. You guys know, with a bunch of little pieces. He had a puzzle table and everything. And he'd sit there, he'd play chess, he'd play puzzles. And I'd watch him when I was little, making these puzzles. And I was like, what the heck? And I remember one day going, I'm gonna go help him. I was like 12. And I look at the table, and it's like so many little pieces. And I'm like, where the hell do you even start this thing? And I looked at him, and I said, are you kidding me? And I picked up a piece, and I'm like, where does this even go? And he just laughed, and he smiled, and he said, Cathy, you have to be patient. He's like, making puzzles, sometimes you're going to pick up pieces, and you don't know where they belong. And as time goes by, eventually you're going to see where it goes, and you're going to see that it's all part of the bigger piece. But you just have to be patient and know that every piece belongs. I was 12, thought nothing of it. I'm like, okay. Fast forward to when I was 19, running a branch office, and one of my fellow branches wanted to commit suicide and called me. And we had this long talk, and I wrote about it in there. But basically, I said to him, I had this vision of this beautiful waterfall in this rainforest. And I said, imagine you're looking at this picture, and that picture is like your life. But every single piece, sometimes some of those pieces, you might pick up a piece, and it's like ugly brown, weird shape, and you're like, there's no way this belongs in this beautiful, vibrant, rainforest. But it could be the scum that's on the rock, on the bottom by the water. And if it wasn't there, it would look incomplete. And sometimes we don't understand why certain things happen to us. Sometimes we don't understand things like, whatever life throws at us. but really owning and knowing that when adversity comes, it's all part of the game of life. It's not fun, it's not always easy, but if we anticipate it and we know that things are gonna happen and we own it, and we know that with everything that happens to us, we can learn, we can grow, and we can always be better. You all have an incredible vehicle that provides time and money to do everything you ever wanted, to create a life even more exciting than you thought possible. Don't waste another day. I leave you all with an excerpt from the poem, A Morning Offering. May I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone no longer, but to do at last what I came here for and waste my heart on fear no more. Crusher 2019. You haven't seen the best of me. I'm still. By the way, I didn't get to make the slide, but if you guys grab your phones, I'd love for you guys to follow. I'm on Instagram now, trying to get the name out there. And for the parents and people we serve, so it's at Cathy with a C. So it's Cathy, V for Vasquez. And then Christen is Christen. Well, you guys have the book. But Cathy V. Christen, love for you guys to follow. We have a free ebook. I know you guys got the book, so definitely check it out. And know that the book, every chapter can be read alone. It all builds upon each other. There's exercises throughout each chapter. So when you finish the book, it's not just another book you finish. You actually have a blueprint for something really exciting. And we have a free workbook that you can also use with teams or with families that you guys want that we'll give for free. And we'll have a table set up tomorrow if you want that you can put your name on there. And I'm more than willing to sign books. All right, great to meet you guys. You haven't seen the best of me.